Andrew68 here on the Casual Meta. Sorry I haven't made any videos lately. I've been kind of busy and had some things going on personally, but I am making a new video for you guys today. This is, as you see, somewhat related to zombies. This is a commander deck tech, and my deck is a green, black, blue zombie deck with the Mimeoplasm as my commander. This guy is pretty damn good, and in my opinion he's the best commander in these colors. Let me know what you think in the comments below, but obviously it's my opinion and you're entitled to yours. So this guy, whenever he enters the battlefield, he may exile 2 creature cards from graveyards. If you do, it enters the battlefield as a copy of one of them with a number of additional +1/+1s on it equal to the power of the other card. So now you get to steal one of their cards out of the graveyard and make it bigger than what they had. This guy's great, and the art on it is just insane. Look at that. It's like a zombie dinosaur blob thing with like skeletons and shit in it. It's awesome. So this guy is really good. This deck is really fun to play. So let's get right down to it. Oh, by the way, my sleeves match my deck box, so that's pretty sweet. So keep in mind he's my commander. Also, while I'm doing this, keep in mind that this is a 100 card singleton format. In other words, you can only have one copy of any card in your deck, except for basic lands, of course. And you're going to want to build a deck that is both fun to play and good in the long game, because most EDH/Commander games go pretty long and you're going to have several people playing. So, keep that in mind. This is the creatures. Like I said, it's a zombie deck. About 90% of the creatures are zombies, with half of the ones that aren't being lords that buff my zombies, and the other half just being good value, like Solemn Simulacrum, that you just want in your EDH decks. So up first we have a nice cheap 1 and 1 black Butcher Ghoul. I'm sorry. He's a zombie 1/1 with Undying. Just a good creature for the early game. Get a blocker down there that turns into a 2/2. Pretty good. Next up we have Vengeful Pharaoh for 2 and 3 black. He's a 5/4 death touch. Whenever combat damage is dealt to you or a planeswalker you control, if he's in your graveyard, destroy target attacking creature, then put him on top of your library. So this guy brings himself out of the graveyard, destroys an attacker, and is just a 5/4 death touch goodness. And this guy gets really good, as well as all my zombies, whenever you have some of these guys out there. This is one of the zombie lords. Not only does this guy buff my zombies with +2/+1, he also makes them cost less, and that is awesome. Anytime something can make your spells cheaper, you want it. So this guy's a little pricey. For a 1/1, he costs 2 and 2 black, but he's really worth having in the deck, and he's a zombie as well, so can't beat it. Next up we have Adaptive Automaton. This is one of the creatures that I said is not necessarily a zombie, but, well, technically it is when it's on the board, but not whenever it's in your hand or in your deck. This guy is great. He buffs your zombies, and he becomes one himself. And at 3 colorless mana, he is an easy zombie to get on the board. You can, you don't have to have double black or anything. He's really good. He works in any kind of a tribal deck. Awesome. Good card. If you play a tribal EDH deck, you want this card. Next up we have Liliana's Reaver for 2 colorless, 2 black. He's a 4/3 death touch. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card, and you put a 2/2 black zombie creature token on the battlefield tapped. So not only is this guy a pretty reasonable body at a 4/3 for 4 with death touch, but he also shits out tokens whenever he deals combat damage to a player, and that is not to be scoffed at. Next up we have Skinrender at 2 and 2 black. He is a 3/3, and whenever he enters the battlefield, you put 3 -1/-1 counters on target creature. So you can either use this to just straight up kill something, maybe put it on, I don't know, something with Indestructible to get rid of it, or you can just use it to make something that's pretty damn big smaller. That way you can deal with it by other means, either attacking and having them block, or blocking it, or simply, another spell that reduces power or toughness, something like that. Next up we have Highborn Ghoul. He's a 2/1 with Intimidate. A body this small, you know, doesn't really do a whole lot by himself, but over the course of a game, hell, combat damage adds up. And you need some cheap early spells to get the game rolling, so that's why he's in here. Next up we have Diagraph Captain. This is a sweet Japanese, I do believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, it may be Chinese, but I'm pretty sure it's Japanese. Diagraph Captain. He costs 1 blue and a black. Well, I'm sorry, 1 colorless, 1 blue, and 1 black. And he's a 2/2 with Death Touch. He gives other zombies you control +1/+1. And whenever a zombie you control, or whenever another zombie you control, so it doesn't trigger on his death, dies, target player loses 1 life. So hey, he's like half of a blood artist, and whenever your zombies die, doing some incremental damage to somebody. Next up we have Death Baron. For 1 and 2 black, he is a 2/2. Skeleton creatures you control and other zombie creatures you control have +1/+1 and Death Touch. Hey, Death Touch is awesome. Next up we have Cemetery Reaper, yet another lord. He is also a casting cost of 1 colorless, 2 black. Sorry, my dog just ran into the table. For a 2/2. Other zombie creatures you control get +1/+1. And he has an activated ability of 2, a black, tap, exile target creature card from a graveyard, and put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. So this guy also shits out zombies. Nothing to be laughed at. Next up we have Unbreathing Horde. This guy can be pretty dangerous late game, and early game he's just a nice defensive body. He enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each other zombie you control and each zombie card in your graveyard. If you'd be dealt combat damage, if you'd be dealt damage, prevent that damage and remove a +1/+1 counter from it. So, this guy, in addition to cards like, say this, is nigh indestructible, and unless they have a board wipe, he's sticking around. Next up we have Vengeful Dead. For 3 and a black, whenever he or another zombie is put into a graveyard from play, each opponent loses 1 life. So, as a 3/2 for 4, he's not horrible. Could be better, but whenever he dies, you get to deal a lot of incremental damage, and there's ways to have lots of zombies on board. There are a lot of zombie token making effects in this deck, so this ability can really add up. Next up we have Sutured Ghoul. For 7 mana at a whopping 4 colorless and 3 black, he is a star with trample. He enters the battlefield, exile any number of creature cards from your graveyard, and then his power and toughness are equal to the total power of those cards, and his toughness is equal to their total toughness. So this guy is basically just all the zombies in your deck sewed together, you know, make this one big badass zombie with trample and just fuck their face up. Next up, we have Gravecrawler. Anybody who plays Standard knows that this card is good. He can't block, he's a 2/1 for 1 though, and you can cast him from your graveyard as long as you control zombie. Chances are I'm going to control zombie, so this guy just comes back turn after turn after turn and beats your face. Next we got Lord of the Undead. He is another one of the cards that is not a zombie, but buffs zombies, therefore he fits in the deck. At 1 and 2 black, all zombies get +1/+1, and for 1 and a black, return target zombie card from your graveyard to your hand. That ability is really nice, and he's a 2/2. Next up we got Dreadslaver. At 3 and 2 black, whenever a creature dealt damage by him this turn dies, return it to the battlefield under your control. That creature is a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types, and he's a 3/5. So, basically, you buff this guy with all your lords, and then whenever something dies after dealing combat with this thing, you get it on your side of the board. That is awesome. Next up we have White of Precinct 6. This card is actually pretty good in Commander, especially if there are quite a few opponents, because creatures get in the graveyard just naturally over the course of the game, and late game being able to drop, say, a 10/10 or a 20/20 maybe for 2 mana, that's pretty ridiculous. I mean, this thing just gets out of hand. It is a big target late game like that, but I mean, you've only invested 2 mana, and they just wasted one of their removal spells. So, hey, I'll take a 2 for 1 any day. Next up, you got Solemn Simulacrum. This is one of the creatures that is just value, and it's just in the deck because any commander deck wants this thing. He's a 4 cost for a 2/2. I know that doesn't really cut the vanilla test, but whenever he enters the battlefield, he rampant growths, and then whenever he dies, you draw a card. So, I mean, he's worth it. You get a body, a land, and another card for 4 mana, so he's not bad. Haven Ghoul Lich. This thing is a powerhouse. For 5 mana, at 3 colorless, 1 blue, 1 black, he is a 4/4. And for 1 colorless, you may cast target creature card from a graveyard this turn. That would be anybody's graveyard. When you cast that card this turn, he gains all activated abilities of that card until end of turn. So this thing, not only does it become a copy of the card you cast for that turn, but then you get to keep the card that you cast. So this thing is a powerhouse, and it allows you to just bring back your cards endlessly and becomes a real threat. Next up, we got Blood Scrivener. This thing late game is mad. I mean, just drawing you 2 cards every turn, you can't beat it. The little bit of life loss isn't that big of a deal. And I mean, it's a cheap bob because I can't afford a real one. So we'll go there. Next up, we got Corpse Connoisseur. For 5 mana at 4 colorless, 1 black. When he enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a creature card and put that card into your graveyard. If you do, shuffle your library. You may unearth him for 3 and a black, and you return him to the battlefield from the graveyard. It gains haste, and you exile it at the beginning of the next end step, or if it would leave the battlefield. So in other words, if he dies, gets exiled, etc. And he's a 3/3. So what this allows you to do is say, I don't know, play him, then search through, get out, you know, a big guy, whatever, and then return him right back to your hand with a card like, where'd he go? I don't know. The Zombie Lord, who for 1 and a black, you can return zombie from your graveyard to your hand. So that, and there's a couple reanimation spells in here, so that works too. Pretty good card. Next up, we have Undead Alchemist. This is one of the cards from Innistrad that really changed the flavor of zombies from Magic. For 3 and a blue, he is a 4/2, and if a zombie you control would deal combat damage to a player, instead, that player puts that many cards from the top of his or her library into his or her graveyard, and whenever a creature card is put into an opponent's graveyard from his or her library, exile that card and put a 2/2 black zombie creature token on the battlefield. So, you mill the player, and then if they mill a creature, you get a zombie. So, say you deal 20 damage, they mill 5 zombies, you get 5 more 2/2s. So, I mean, that's great. It builds up your zombies, and then you have sack outlets on board. You sack this guy, and then you deal 1,000,000 damage to their face. Next up, we got the standard All-Star and Jund right now, Lifebane Zombie. He's a 3/1 for 3 at 1 and 2 black with Intimidate, meaning he can only be blocked by artifact creatures and cards that share a color with it. He enters the battlefield, and a target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a green or white creature card from it, and exile that card. So, I mean, he's really only good against the Lesnia decks, or mono white, mono green, things like that. But a 3/1 Intimidate for 3 mana isn't that bad, and sometimes he's a real good card. Imagine, you're playing up against the deck, you're beating him down, you play this guy, pull a Thrag Test from their hand, and because they don't have that life gain, you win. Good card. Next up, Jared, Golgari Lich Lord. He gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard, while his casting cost is double black, double green, and he's a 2/2. But he gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard, and you can pay a colorless, a black, and a green, sack another creature, and each opponent loses life equal to the sacrificed creature's power. So, this is a way to deal damage to all your opponents at once, and it's pretty good. I mean, he's reasonable, seeing as he's going to have a +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. So, he's not bad, and with all the zombie tokens, you're able to deal 2 damage for 3 mana, over and over and over and over and over. So, it's pretty reasonable to have in the deck. I really like him. Next up is Grimgrin Corpseborn, and this was originally the commander that I wanted to use, but I wanted access to green for a couple of the spells like, where is he? Dreg Mangler, Lotleth Troll, things like that, some ramp, stuff like that. So I decided to go ahead and go with Mimeoplasm, even though he doesn't really fit the zombie theme. He's in the colors, so that's what I had to go with. But this guy enters the battlefield tapped at 5 mana, 3 a blue and a black, and he's a 5/5. You can sack another creature, untap him, and put a +1/+1 counter on him. And when he attacks, you destroy target creature defending player controls, then put another +1/+1 on him. So this with the Grave Crawler, just, tap this guy, get him really big, and then swing, destroy one of their things, and make him even bigger. This thing gets really big. Unfortunately, he doesn't have trample. Hey, what can you ask for? But he gets really big really fast, and he's just fun to play with. Next up, Shepherd of Rot. For 1 and a black, he's a 1/1, and each player loses 1 life for each zombie in play. Tap ability. So, bink, you lose 12. Bink, we all lose 12. Bink, we all lose 12. And then, as long as you had a higher starting life total, you can end the game that way and just win outright. It's not going to happen all the time, but there'll be that one chance, I guarantee it. So, fun card, fun to play with, and people don't like it staying on the board for very long. Next up, we got Zombie Master. This is a 2/3 for 3, 1 colorless, 2 black. All zombies gain Swamp Walk and pay black, regenerate. That is amazing. Regeneration for all your zombies is totally worth having this guy on the battlefield. Next up, we got the 1 infect creature in this deck, and I know most people don't like playing with Infected Commander, but if somebody has a life gain deck and they're up to, say, 1,000,000 life, this is a way to actually kill them. So, most of the time, people running life gain decks are going to be in green-white, so he has pro-white. It's just a way to champ out those few wins that you wouldn't normally get, but not having the consistency of always winning with Infect in a normal game. I don't like to be cheap, but I do like to have a chance at winning. Next up, Mimeoplasm the Unhallowed. 3 colorless, 3 black. Intimidate. Whenever a human deals damage to you, destroy it. Other non-human creatures you control get +1/+1 and Undying. So this gives all my zombies +1/+1, and Undying makes them incredibly good. Next up, we got Lotleth Troll. At black, green, he is a 2/1 trample. Discard a creature card, put a +1/+1 counter on him, and pay a black, regenerate. Pretty good card. Next up, we got Dregmangler. It was either between Dregmangler or Geralf's Messenger, and I have my Geralf's Messengers in another deck, so, hey, Dregmangler it is. 1 colorless, 1 black, 1 green, 3/3 haste, and scavenge for 5. Not bad. So those are the creatures, a whopping 31 of them. Some people would argue that more creatures is better. I have a lot of way of making tokens, so I'm not too concerned with the amount of creatures. I could have more. Some people have less. It's just, you got to play your deck and see what works best. But I like this amount, so that's the way it is. Now we're going to move on to the spells. Next, okay, first up, we got Underworld Connections. You always like card draw in EDH, so there it is, card draw. Temporal Mastery. Everybody likes to take the extra turns. Whisper Silk Cloak. Unblockable. Can't be targeted spells or abilities. This card is the nuts to put on your commander. This thing saves it from everything but a board wipe and is awesome. Tragic Slip. Good removal. Can't beat it. Rooftop Storm. Just lets you cast your whole handful of zombies for free. Yeah, I like it. Black Sun Zenith. Gotta love the board wipes. Plus, reusable board wipes are always awesome. Army of the Damned, because you can't not play this in a zombie EDH deck. You just can't. If you have a zombie EDH deck and you do not play Army of the Damned, either you do not own one or you are dumb. This card is awesome in long EDH games just for the Timmy effect. Just being able to do something awesome. Just, bah, I got 13 2/2s. What you gonna do? Ashmod's Altar. Making mana for sacking creatures. Of course you want to do that. That's awesome. For 0 mana, you get to sack a creature and add 2 colorless mana. Sure. Blue Sun Zenith, because everybody likes to draw cards. Yep, I like drawing cards, you like drawing cards. Let's draw some cards. Victim of Night. Destroy target non-vampire, non-werewolf, non-zombie. Hey, can't be used on my creatures, but who cares? Why would I want to kill my own stuff anyway, right? And if I do, I can just sack them to stings. Next up, we got Far and Away. This card is awesome. I love it whenever this card got spoiled. I jumped up and down, did circles, clapped my hands. This thing is awesome. For 5 mana, you can return the creature to its hand and make them sack your creature. That can just be a total blowout. And if not, they're pretty reasonably priced for each of the cards. Tribute to Hunger, another sack outlet, because, hey, Indestructible is a thing, and this gets rid of it. Think Twice, this card draws good. Call to the Grave, because I play zombies, and this just makes everybody sack a creature except for me. Grave Betrayal, because, hey, when their things die, I wouldn't mind having them. Abrupt Decay, can't be countered, is great in EDH. Some people out there just like to be douchebags and counter everything. So, this is a way to get rid of their, I don't know, maybe Oblivion Rings or Detention Spheres, because those people are going to be playing white-blue. This thing is great against them. Get rid of their enchantment removal and beat their face. Next up, you get Staff and End, because everybody likes to draw cards at the beginning of their turn, and everybody likes to ping stuff. For 6, it's a little expensive, but hey, I will pay 6 to draw an extra card every turn, especially whenever you can cast this normally on about turn 4 or 5. Good card. Next up, we got Zombie Apocalypse. There again, this is another card that if you are not playing this in your zombie EDH deck, either you don't own one, or you're dumb. Return all zombie creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, then destroy all humans. Please. Grimoire of the Dead. This card is in here simply because it plays along with the flavor of raising all of the dead, coming back to life, and eating your face. You get all the creature cards in all graveyards onto your side of the battlefield, and they're all zombies. How flavorful and awesome is that? I love this card. Next up, we got Dismember, simply because it's really good removal at really cheap, and you can play it for 1 mana if you absolutely have to. So, pretty good. Next up, we got Endless Ranks of the Dead, because if you have lots of zombies, what's better than making more zombies for free? Let's do that every turn. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go. Let's do that. We got Gilded Lotus. 5 cost, add 3 mana of any one color to your mana pool. Pretty good. I mean, there again, you have to ramp to the 5 mana, but then every turn after that, you have 8 mana. So, pretty good. Soul Ring. You got to play Soul Ring in a commander deck. You just have to. Next up, we got Damnation. 2 and 2 black. Destroy all creatures that can't be regenerated, and it's cool Judge foil. So, that's always awesome. Next up, we got Bad Moon, because every creature in my deck, except for, let's see, 3 of them, 4 of them are black, and this gives them all +1/+1. Next up, we got Cryptic Command, simply because I pulled one in Modern Masters and wanted to play with it. Hex, which destroys 6 target creatures. Really good late game removal, just let you get all of the big threats out of the way and let yours pound through. The final 2 cards are Terror, which is basically just a worse Doomblade. Hey, I know it, you know it, but I like it better simply because it's more flavorful, older card, and the art is way cooler. Next up, we got Rise from the Grave. Target creature card in the graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It's a black zombie in addition to other colors and types. So for 5 mana, give me that. I want that. That's mine. I'm going to beat your face with it. Alright, that is the spell portion of the deck. Pretty straightforward for a zombie deck. I mean, you've got all the zombie cards like, you know, Army of the Damned and Zombie Apocalypse, things like that. So, can't go wrong with those. Next up. Alright guys, I'm sorry about that. Had a little technical difficulties. Knocked over my stand for my camera here. So we're going to go ahead and do the land now. I have, first off, a command tower. This land is good in any commander deck ever. If you're running more than one color, you want to be running this thing. It adds 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity to your mana pool. Good card. You want to play it. That's that. Next up, we got Cavernous Souls. And in any tribal deck, in any format, whether it be commander, standard, modern, casual, Cavernous Souls is amazing. Not only does it color fix for your tribe, but it also makes that creature spell uncounterable. And that's invaluable in this format where there will be that inevitable douchebag who does nothing but run 50 counter spells and a few bounce spells, and just for the lulz just fucks with you. So good card, screws those guys over. Run it. Next up we got Vivid Marsh. This land does enter tapped, but it also provides color fixing in the form of counters that you can remove to add one mana of any color to your mana pool. Sorry. We have the Vivid Marsh with really cool artwork there. It's like a stream with like oil running through it, it looks like. Really cool. Then we've got Vivid Creek, which also has really neat art. It's like a rainbow over a creek. That's the same thing as the Vivid Marsh. And then we've got Vivid Grove, which is the same thing, only taps for green. Also really cool art. Next up we got Crypt of Agadim. I cannot talk today. It enters tapped, taps for a black, or you can pay 2 and tap it and add a black to your mana pool for each black creature card in your graveyard. This thing is pretty good late game, and it's, you know, a little bit above the power level of an average swamp. Plus it's shiny and pretty, so, you know, it has that going for it. Next up we have Ebon Stronghold. This thing enters the battlefield tapped as well. Taps to add a black, or you can sack it to add 2 black to your mana pool. So this is nice to play turn 1 or 2 if you don't have anything else to play, and then turn 3 you sack it and play a 4-drop. And a little bit of mana acceleration. Hey, pretty good. Next up we got Thespian Stage. Now this thing I really like. I think all people who play Commander should run one. Not only can it be color fixing by copying any of the land that you already have out or another person has out, but if you run a Tectonic Edge, it can turn itself into another Tectonic Edge. Granted, then you spend 3 mana on a Tech Edge instead of, 1, but it does the job. And if you have to have it, it's there, and it does anything that any land does. So it's really nice to have. Watery Grave. Now we're getting into the dual lands. So we've got Watery Grave from Gatecrash, and we've got Drowned Catacomb, the N10 dual lands that enter tapped unless you control a swamp or island. And we got Dimir Guildgate, obviously the Guildgate. Oh, this is the Dragon's Mage version, which I really like. Plus it's shiny. And we've got Dark Slick Shores, which is the fast land from Scars of Mirrodin. And we've got War Isle Refuge from Zendikar. This enters tapped and you gain 1 life. Taps for blue or black. And we've got Breeding Pool, the shock land from Gatecrash, green-blue. And we've got the green-blue Hinterland Harbor land from Innistrad. This has the same ability as the M10 series, so it enters tapped unless you control a forest or an island. And you got Overgrown Tomb, the black-green shock land from Return to Ravnica. Next up is Woodland Cemetery, the N10 type land from Innistrad for green and black. Alright, now we've got Grim Backwoods. This taps to add a colorless, or for 2 colorless, a black and a green. Tap, sack a creature, draw a card. So it lets me turn all those zombie creature tokens, if for whatever reason they're not bash and face, I can turn them into cards and find a way to make them bash face. That's what this is in here for. Next up we got that lovely Tech Edge promo that I showed you earlier. Just in case somebody has a troublesome land, be it, Kessig Wolf Run or Gabony Township, something like that, or even one of the older man lands, Inkmoth Nexus, anything like that. This will take care of it for you, and you can't beat it. You just swap your land for theirs, get them both out of the way, continue playing the game without their unfair advantage. And then last up, we've got Terramorphic Expanse. You can't beat it. A little bit more color fixing, never hurt anybody. I play it because I can, and you can too. Alright, now we've got all the non-basics out of the way. We'll go ahead and go to the basic lands, of which we have 9 swamps. Oh, nice Zendikar land. So 9 swamps. Then we have 6 islands, if I can grab them. 6 Zendikar islands. I really like the art on this one. I don't know. What do you think? I like it. Next up, we have 4 pretty. No, I'm just kidding. These things aren't pretty. These are just 4 normal forests. I have some Zendikar forests, but they're decked, and I didn't, lazy side of me came out, and I didn't feel like unsleeving them. So, we've got basic forests. But, hey, they tap for green mana and work just like a Zendikar forest would. They're just not pretty. So, that is the deck. Let me know what you think. I really enjoy it. It's fun to play. Commander's it's a format all about having fun. So build a deck that you enjoy, that your friends are gonna like seeing you play. You may have a combo in it, but don't make it too broke, or else they won't want to play with you. Alright, well, that's it for this video. Let me know if there's anything that you'd like to see from the channel. Like I said, I plan on doing a giveaway here soon. I hope to see you guys later. This is Andrew68 on the Casual Meta, signing out.